The suspect in the Boulder, Colorado shooting is named Aliwi Alyssa, a 21-year-old man from Arvada, Colorado. He'll be charged with 10 counts of murder. I went to the Boulder Daily Camera newspaper, and I will accept the Boulder Daily Camera's spelling of this evil bastard, A-L, Aliwi, A-L-I-W-I, Alyssa, A-L-I-S-S-A, because on every other site that I also saw his name, it was spelled differently. So I'm going with the Boulder Daily Camera. They got it straight from Boulder Police Chief Maris Harold. And so his name is Aliwi Alyssa, 21 years old. And there is some speculation as to whether he's the shirtless man we see being escorted away from the scene with blood running down his leg. I think it's a reasonable assumption to think that's him. He was shot in the leg, but that confirmation has not been issued. In any event, the police in Boulder say they have the right guy in custody, and it's Aliwi Alyssa. And I don't know what the motive is, and they don't know what the motive is in Boulder yet. It was at a King Soopers supermarket in Boulder, and it was also serving as one of the town's vaccine centers. So it was quite populated with innocent people who fell victim to this evil bastard. And we don't know why he shot the store up. I know there'll be a great hue and cry for more gun control.
It's already begun.
That's always understandable. That's what happens in the events of these tragedies. And this nation is losing its ability to be shocked, I'm afraid, to be astonished. And
I'm pretty shocked. I'm very astonished.
Well, good.
Heartbroken.
That's a good sign.
We were chatting about this before the show, but would you say 15 years ago, this would have been 24-hour news coverage on all the local channels, wouldn't it have been?
Yes.
And last night I saw nothing. This morning you saw barely any mention of it. Why is that?
I certainly saw a great mention of it at the 10 p.m. news and the 5:30 p.m. network news. I saw a mention of it.
Okay.
But because 15 years ago, 25 years ago, we would have regarded this as so horrible that the coverage would have been 24 hours a day. Hell, Johnny Height and I, we were talking off the air. The Atlanta shootings of the salon workers, or what do you call those places? They're not salons.
Massage parlors.
Massage parlors. That story was on page 8 of the Star Tribune.
Yeah.
Page 8.
That shocked me.
This story was what today? Did it make page 2?
Page 2, I think. When you turn the page, it's on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Is that a timing issue on when they went to press?
No, this happened at 3:30 yesterday afternoon.
I think most of the info the paper had today you could have gleaned last evening by 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And the other
I don't think his name was available yesterday.
Exactly.
No,
But that wasn't in the paper either. So.
And the other disturbing part to me is we don't even wait for the dust to settle and the finger pointing begins on both sides.
Well, in what sense? I have not detected yet a great deal of finger pointing.
It was all
Joe.
over Twitter this morning.
I see. I don't count Twitter.
Joe,
Well,
you're
it's-
lucky.
Even though you don't count Twitter, it's a reality and it's there and it's real. And Twitter this morning was all about this is the fault of middle-aged white men.
Well, he was a 21-year-old guy who's not a white man. He would be a man of color, wouldn't he? With that name. And
Here's a tweet from somebody who calls herself a journalist, Mina Harris. I deleted a previous tweet about the suspect in the Boulder shooting. I made an assumption based on his being taken into custody alive and the fact that the majority of mass shootings in the U.S. are carried out by white men.
Mm-hmm.
And then, she's backed up by a whole bunch of other tweets and et cetera, and people agreeing with her. Her original tweet read, "The Atlanta shooting was not even a week ago. Violent white men are the greatest terrorist threat to our country.
Mina actually is a lawyer. She's not a journalist. I know that only because I follow her.
Well, do you want to break it down?
Yes,
Because
please.
I guess I'm naively going. I guess I'm naively going to ask: is a guy named Aliwi Alyssa a white guy? I don't know the answer. I'm being truthful. I'm being serious.
Well,
I'm serious.
his descent obviously is Mideastern. I don't
Yes.
know what that makes him, to be truthful.
He has lived in this country most of his life. I did glean that. But nowhere, I'm sorry. I don't even have, I misread. His name is Ahmad
Ahmad,
Aliwi Alyssa. He's a four-name guy. Ahmad Aliwi Alyssa. Maybe, I don't know enough to describe his ethnicity. I don't know what that would be.
The census information also says, yes, that would be considered a white person, Mideastern
Okay.
people.
All right. All right. Well, white guys do shoot things up very frequently. And
And it's still too early for us to be making any assumptions. One guy here, Andy No, says he's from Syria and he's devoutly Muslim, but he doesn't name his sources.
well, this is a 72-hour at the minimum before you know
Yeah.
anything. This is,
Absolutely.
Watching the Boulder police chief get choked up talking about the officer, that was tough to watch.
well, that copper had 7 kids, and he was pestering his superiors for a different role in the department because he feared for his safety and wanted to be around to raise the large family.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. For all for all 10
It's
victims.
Just the whole thing is,
But to think,
very upsetting.
Mom went to the store to get some tomatoes. Boom, she's dead. This is insanity. This is the decline of moral and ethical integrity is stretching its perimeters to include evilness and insanity. I'm hesitant to say insane. I just think there's evil in the world, and we keep seeing it. We just keep seeing it. Because if this wasn't an example of evil, I don't know what is. Same with the knucklehead evil bastard in Atlanta. That's evil. I don't know any other way to look at it.
And I hate that, we were talking about the double standard. I'm so tired of, if you're against this, then you must be for that. No, I can be against both. I'm so
Pretty easy, actually.
I'm so tired of that narrative. There was one thing I read this morning from a gentleman that said, keep in mind that the cops apprehended this white man, which obviously we don't know if that's true or not. And yet, a couple months ago, officers shot and killed a black man in that same neighborhood. Well, come on. I can be against both of those incidents.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Well, I think the intimation is that because this guy is perceived to be white, he was handled differently than a black
That
suspect.
was all over the place last night.
Yeah.
And that's just shameful.
Well, then what would the reaction be if the cops, out of frustration, just shot the hell out of him? Well, that's not what cops are supposed to do. Apparently, they didn't get into gunplay with him. Or maybe they did. He was shot in the leg.
He
Maybe
was
they
shot
did.
in the leg, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the
Too
other
bad he
one,
wasn't
Chris.
shot in the head.
Yeah.
The other one, Chris, if you're against, like, say, the self-censorship of Dr. Seuss, then you're obviously in favor of mass shootings.
Yep.
What?
I can't make that connection.
Oh, others
Nor-
can.
Nor can I.
Run it by me again. If you're in favor of,
It's a party issue thing, Such. It comes down to party politics. That's all it is. And it's like we were talking yesterday. And it's why we continue to get complaints from both sides of the aisle, because we can't sign up for a party and blindly follow them.
It's
To
not
the
what
very
we're
end.
about. It's not what we're
No,
about.
it's not what GL is about.
well, that's interesting. It's interesting that you bring this up, because I received today an email from a guy named Tim Werner. He's emailed before. And he labeled his email GL profile. And he says, Joe, Plato said, serious things cannot be understood without laughable things, nor opposites at all without opposites. Bearing this in mind, I set off on a search to better understand the GL crew and followers, and to contrast them with the other side. In order to get a clearer view of it, I will use your sponsors to create a profile. Then I'll contrast that with what your ideological opponents must be like. Let's get started. I will begin with a list of some of your podcast sponsors: Grunhofer's Old Fashioned Meats, Fratelloni's Ace Hardware, Harmony Spirits, 30 Bales, EcoFun Motorsports, DK Mag, Schmelz Countryside, Aquaside, Chill Boys, Pro Turf. I have personally interacted with many of these companies and can vouch for the incredible products and experience they deliver. For instance, I would have paid money for the smells alone when I walked into Grunhofer's, and 30 Bales serves amazing food. Plus, I intend to buy 2 Bintelli e-bikes this spring from EcoFun. But that's not the point here. The profile I would construct of GL loyalists from these sponsors is the following: red, meat-eating, do-it-yourself, home project-discussing guys and gals who aren't afraid to use hard liquor, exotic cars, big boy toys, and guns responsibly, and who wear the most practical and comfortable underwear money can buy and keep the home front clear of bugs and lake weeds. Now, this sounds like a group of folks I'd like to hang out with. The contrast gets even clearer when I think about what that says about the other side, the Mysterians. I'm getting a picture of vegan dandies who walk the long way around the block to avoid the local hardware store, drive hybrids and e-cars, think that guns kill people, and who go home to places that are plagued by insects and weeds for fear of causing climate change. Oh, and I don't even want to think about their underwear, but I bet it has hearts or peace signs on it if they wear any at all. Yes, it all checks out. GL is on the right side of history. Many thanks to our fearless leader, Joe, and his team. Good luck, Tim. I'll be damned. Oh. That's not a bad profile, just based on our sponsors.
So it's bad to have peace signs on your underwear?
Yeah.
Oh,
I would like to amend some of Tim's thinking. It's not so much that, let's just take the red meat. You know, John, you lay off the red meat.
Well, not as much as I should.
But you should.
Don't know that.
But you should, and so does my brother, and I don't eat a lot of red meat. I think it's more to the point that a GLer doesn't care if you eat red meat.
There you go.
That's more to the point.
Right.
A GLer doesn't care if you love your automobile and have a powerful automobile. A GLer is behind that. A GLer enjoys Harmony Spirits. A GLer enjoys Grunhofer's and EcoFun and all the rest, because the GLers aren't intent on telling you how to behave. That's the difference between GL and the mystery.
You're right.
The mystery intends to tell me how to behave, and GLers don't intend to tell people how to behave. GLers expect and anticipate moral and ethical integrity. And because of that, we can't be pinned to any specific political alignment. For a variety of reasons, chief among them, I don't wish to be. I want my mind to be left open to all possibilities. And if a great possibility arises from a Democrat, I'm game to listen. And if a great possibility arises from a Republican, of course, I'm going to listen.
And unfortunately, that's what's missing in this country right now. That's our greatest threat, is the inability to listen to an opposing view.
Let's return to the border situation. Most news gathering organizations are disappointed that the Biden administration is refusing media access. Axios first published a series of photographs taken inside the largest Border Patrol detention center, a tent facility in the South Texas city of Donna. The photos were released by Representative Henry Cuellar, Democrat, Texas. He said he released the photographs in part because the administration has refused media access to the Donna tent. He said he also wanted to draw attention to the extreme challenges that border agents face in watching so many children, sometimes for a week or longer, despite the Border Patrol's 3-day limit on detailing minors. Now you cut to a little later in the story. Cuellar again. What Trump did was horrible, Cuellar said. These pictures show you that even under our best intentions, and the Biden administration has the best intentions, it's still very difficult. The hypocrisy there is laughable. There is nothing different in terms of the conditions between the Trump administration and the Biden administration. But this stick to the book lefty said what the Trump did was horrible. But what we're doing, because we have the best intentions, is merely difficult. It's not horrible to him. It's difficult. But when it was Trump, it was horrible. The consumer of news in this country just has hard work in front of them every day to sort this BS out. And the BS at the border it's worse than Trump. Trump invited the media in. He wanted them to see it. And it must be so horrific that the Biden administration is refusing to let the media in. But according to one of Biden's yes men, this Cuellar stooge, well, we have the best intentions, and this is very difficult, unlike what Trump did, which was merely horrible. B as in B, S as in S. You both share blame. Both administrations can share blame for what an asinine situation this is, and for the failure of other governments to keep their own people home. I had a good point from an emailer today. Usually, if his analogy was, if your house is on fire, you don't go 3 houses down the block to borrow a telephone. You would go to the first house to borrow a telephone. Why then, when somebody leaves Guatemala, don't they seek asylum in the very next country they encounter? Why do they skip 3 or 4 countries to get to our border? Well, it's because this country's trying to hang on to its principles of being the best country in the world. That's rapidly in decline. I do not have the wisdom of Solomon to solve this border crisis, but neither does Biden.
And the border crisis certainly didn't start with Trump. I mean, this has been generations.
This has been going on forever, yeah.
This is a lot of previous administrations on both sides.
Joe, speaking of President Biden, he did speak, and I have some audio in relation to the shooting that took place in Boulder. It's about 90 seconds. Would you like it?
Yeah.
And thirdly, I want to be very clear. This is the one thing I do know enough to say on in terms of what's happened there. While we're still waiting for more information regarding the shooter, his motive, the weapons he used, the guns, the magazines, the weapons, the modifications that apparently have taken place to those weapons that are involved here, I don't need to wait another minute, let alone an hour, to take common sense steps that will save the lives in the future, and to urge my colleagues in the House and Senate to act. We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. I got that done when I was a senator. It passed. It was law for the longest time. And it brought down these mass killings. We should do it again. We can close the loopholes in our background check system, including the Charleston loophole. That's one of the best tools we have right now to prevent gun violence. The Senate should immediately pass, let me say it again, the United States Senate, I hope some are listening, should immediately pass the 2 House-passed bills that close loopholes in the background check system. These are bills that receive votes of both Republicans and Democrats in the House. This is not, it should not be a partisan issue. This is an American issue. It will save lives, American lives, and we have to act.
Okay. Well, I'm not surprised that he would say such a thing. I don't know what weapon the guy used. It was described as what, Johnny?
It was described by a law enforcement source as an AR-15 style rifle, so I don't know what to glean from that. Kenny, you may know more.
It's got a pistol grip on it, and it's black and composite and looks scary. That's all it means.